here at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. And first off, we're here at the cemetery. There's mass graves here. A lot of unknown soldiers from the 7th Cavalry and from other wars as well. There you go. Part of the battlefield, and we'll take a look at everything. We're not in any hurry, so we'll walk a ways. Last Chance Hill out there. More of the battlefield.
Yeah, look at that there.
Exposition that celebrates the industrial life of America. We know we can't get rid but soon it is. Custer and my companies in the same category have been wiped out.
Not all at the Little Bighorn are killed. 2 days after the Custer battle, Reno, Benteen, and some 350 survivors are rescued from the bluffs overlooking the river. They spend the next 2 days helping bury the dead. The U.S. response to the Little Bighorn is swift and relentless. Congress authorizes more troops. After a particularly harsh winter, Sitting Bull leads his band into Canada in spring of 1877. 5 years later, he surrenders to the United States government. Less than a year after the Bighorn, most of the Ottawa and Cheyenne also surrendered.
The Indians never won another battle in the Great Sioux War. They lost their land, they lost their unceded territory. They ended up confined on reservations. They effectively lost everything.
Much of the Great Sioux Reservation, including the Black Hills, is open for settlement.
And so the power of the United States is finally brought forth. And it's coming against the as a result of the and the Seventh Cavalry.
Calvary camp.
Today, most of the descendants of those who fought at the Little Bighorn live in South Dakota, North Dakota, and Montana. Other descendants are scattered across the central and southern plains. The once great Sioux Reservation has been reduced to 6 smaller ones. Every year, on the anniversary of the battle, they come to remember what many consider a spiritual victory.
Or something tragic happened to our people, we had something great happen to our people. I don't know, they were
days after the battle, the
You need to
granite
hold on.
monument was placed on last stand. More than 60 warriors gave their lives, defending the people and their well-being. Today, they
It runs up here to this big hill. Now, he and Captain Benteen are gonna fight up here for the rest of the battle, okay? While that's going on, old George Custer, unless somebody drew it already, George comes down here and sends some people down there, and they can't cross the river. You know why? Ah, you got it, the warriors stop him right there. And so part of them come back way
Yeah, so
out
but
here
we're
to
going to
the
see
hill.
earlier.
And some of them stay right here, like that. But not Custer. Custer comes way over here and he tries to cross the river again. He can't cross because warriors, you guys are aces. Okay, so they stop him again. Now he has nowhere to go. He has nowhere to go but up here on this hill where you put the X. Okay? And so Custer and his men stay here. These guys will be dropped off stay here. But here's the satisfaction. But here's the happy part.
Okay, thanks.
Out here,
Yep, at 1 o'clock. It's just a talk, we sit outside on the patio, right outside.
you understand it all now?
In 5 minutes at 12:30, we will be showing a 27 orientation film about the battle. For those of you who are
I have no idea. I saw that and I go, I don't know, I must have pressed something.
Okay, on June 28, 3 days after the Battle of the Little Bighorn, survivors of the 7th Cavalry under command of Marcus Reno began the task of burying Lieutenant George Armstrong Custer's command. The men were buried where they fell in shallow graves marked with wooden teepee poles collected from the abandoned village. In 1877, the partial remains of Custer and many other officers were reinterred. The remains of soldiers and attached personnel buried on the field were collected and reinterred in a mass grave around the base of the Granite Memorial on Last Stand Hill. In 1890, Army personnel erected white marble markers at the original soldier grave sites. Okay, 3 soldiers fell here. A couple more graves. And you can get a view of Last Stand Hill from here. More graves. At least they fell with their buddies. But I know there's plenty of bodies that were found all alone. And James Sturgis. Lieutenant James Sturgis. His remains were never found, but his mother came to the battlefield a couple years later, and the troops decided to put a grave marker on a spot. More graves in this general area. There's 2, 4, 6, about 15 or 20 graves or locations where bodies were recovered. And once again, Last Chance Hill, a couple 300 yards away. Okay, warrior accounts describe fierce fighting in the basins below Last Stand Hill. The fighting that occurred in the basin is still controversial among scholars and researchers. Many early scholars argue that the Southern Cheyennes Chief Lame White Man's charge occurred here against soldiers of Company A who had just rode down to this ridge from Last Dance Hill. Modern scholars place Lame White Man's charge against soldiers from Company C. Northern Cheyenne oral histories describe the soldiers riding down from the present National Cemetery into this basin. Custer went in the center of the big basin below the monument, and the soldiers of the Gray Horse Company got off their horse and moved up afoot. Fierce charge was initiated by approximately 20 young Lakota and Cheyenne suicide warriors who early vowed to sacrifice themselves for their people. The suicide warriors galloped up to the level ground area where the cemetery now stands. Right up there. Some of them stampeded their horses of the soldiers. Some charged right into the midst of the troops. Soldiers who survived this fierce attack retreated to Last Stand Hill. Toward the end of the battle, a group of soldiers broke out from Last Stand Hill and attempted to either charge the warriors here or reach the apparent safety of Deep Ravine or perhaps the Little Bighorn. All right, so that explains this. Now where the trees are, that's the Little Bighorn River. On the flat bottomland upstream about 2 miles and beyond the trees bordering the Little Bighorn River lay the immense camps of Lakota, Sioux, and Cheyenne under the political and spiritual leadership of Sitting Bull. The village included the 7 council fires of the Teton Lakota Sioux and approximately 120 lodges of the Northern and Southern Cheyenne. Also present were Santee and Dakota Sioux and 5 Arapaho. Conservative estimates today place the village population at approximately 6,000 to 8,000 men, women, and children, 1,500 to 2,000 of which were warriors. The encampment was spread approximately 2 miles up and down a Little Bighorn Valley and was one of the largest concentrations. And a month's pony herd of perhaps 20 to 30,000 head were grazing above the valley on the flat benchland, located today just west of Interstate 90. So all that area down there, that's where the Indians were encamped. Walking down toward the river. So what probably happened, I believe, Custer made a mad dash down to the Indian village, and when he saw how many Indians were there, he turned around and came back up when he realized he was severely outnumbered. Surgeon George Lord fell here. Assistant Surgeon George Lord was one of 3 doctors serving the 7th Cavalry. On June 25th, Dr. Lord was ill, and Lieutenant Colonel Custer suggested that he remain with the pack train. Dr. Lord declined. Some evidence suggests that Lord's body was actually found on Last Stand Hill. His medical case was discovered in the abandoned Indian village after the battle. Deep Ravine, Crazy Horse Gully and Gray Horse Ravine was the scene of fierce fighting during the battle. Crazy Horse and other Sioux and Cheyenne warriors crossed the Little Bighorn River, down where the trees are, and rode up the ravine during the attack against Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer's battalion. Toward the end of the battle, approximately 40 soldiers broke out from Last Stand Hill and were killed here and on adjacent ridges. Warrior accounts indicate that a Sioux, who was also killed during the fighting, and a Northern Cheyenne mortally wounded, they were recovered by their families. Approximately 28 soldiers were found in a large heap near the head of the ravine, and others 15 yards below. Army accounts indicate that the soldiers in the ravine were buried where they fell. Historical evidence suggests that the soldiers in the ravine were overlooked during reburial in the mass grave on Last Stand Hill in 1881. Attempts in 1984, 1985, and 1989 to locate the remains of the missing soldiers using modern archaeological evidence suggest techniques and equipment failed. However, in 1995 and 1996, a rapid geophysical survey investigation indicated soil anomalies and metal detected throughout the ravine, especially in the upper 2/3 area near the head wall below you. Perhaps future archaeological investigation and techniques may one day solve the mystery of the missing 7th Cav. Looking at Last Chance Hill. Mitch Boyer. In 1983, visitors discovered a human skull and teeth fragment at markers 33 and 34. Wherever that is. Formal archaeological investigation recovered a bullet, lead shot, rubber, and parts. Why is it here? Well, we'll find out later.